Here we are, the finale, the final episode of season four. 4 seasons. And this was the first season, as you know, that I had a theme which was about humanity and leadership and how they're both two different sides of the same coin. So, my guest today is a woman who I really adore and admire. She introduces herself so uniquely, you'll see it, and she has been so genuinely involved in this concept of humanity being at the core of leadership. She is entrepreneur. She's got her hands put into about 6 or 7 or 8, I don't know, different professional ventures, but she talks about it all stemming off from the type of people that we are and the type of people that care about society, care about the world, care about everything else around us. Let's talk. Hello, 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 and this is Tagore, and welcome to my podcast, A Pint of Imbecile Wisdom. Everyday people with everyday stories and hopefully great inspirations for the rest of us. So today I'm talking to a woman, and I'm really glad because when I was doing some research on her, there was so much that she does that I couldn't make up my mind as to what topics or what elements I should be talking about. So I'm going to try and fit in some of the things that she does in her professional life, but I really want to celebrate this woman for who she is because she is the human being behind all of this. Sushma, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. I'm really excited about today. Really excited.
Thank you very much for doing it, given all the things that you do in life. Thank you for making time for me on a Sunday afternoon. So, Sushma, to start off with, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. Well, I am a wonderful daughter. I'm a mother. I'm a devoted wife. I think I'm a fabulous daughter-in-law. A decent sister. That's one place I need to work a little harder at. An extremely loyal friend. And a wonderful workmate to have in your corner. So that's a little bit about me as a human being. And as a professional, I'm an educator, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a leadership coach, as well as I run a media management company. So I'm extremely well entrenched in media, skill, and learning and development. So that's a little bit about my profession.
Yeah, I can vouch.
I'm keeping it short because otherwise I'll keep on and on. So I'm keeping it as short as I possibly can.
You don't have to, but yeah, I can vouch for the friendship thing because our common friend Vandy has spoken very highly about you. So you started off in the media industry. I think you were one of the first people who created a professional media event management company, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, so I was part of the first team in a very well-known event agency, which was the first event agency in the country, that is in India. And the name of that company is Weare. It still exists. So I was part of the first, those days we didn't have a startup culture, but I would like to say one of the founding teams. And I had 3 mentors who were the directors of Weare. And at that time, events and experiential media was unheard of. So it was a wonderful time. I'm talking about 30 years, more than 30 years ago. And it was a wonderful time of experimentation, wonderful time of learning, growth, and building what we know today as the Indian event and experiential industry. So that's how I started my career that's after my graduation and I would say my professional part of my life.
Okay. But then you went on to do something else with Weare. Something called Maya. What you started that, if I'm not mistaken. What was that about?
Yes. So that is actually one of the most recent initiatives that I have to go, and that is called Weare Management Institute of Media and Entertainment. I started my career in Weare, and in the bridge between Weare and Weare Mind is my own company that I co-founded along with my now husband, then partner, which is ICE Global. And I started about 5-6 years ago. I co-founded a company called Viscraft Management Institute of Media and Entertainment. And this company or this initiative, I would rather, I really don't want to call it a company. It is more than a passion project. It is because we're very passionate about education. We're very passionate about experiential media. And this is basically an initiative to ensure that media and entertainment gets its rightful place in the education sector. So we've tied up with universities across India, and with the purpose of providing the right education, providing the right access to industry relevant education for events and experiential media in India. So it's very exciting. I would call it my vocation, Tagore. This is my vocation. And that has given us as a team a great amount of, I don't know what to say, joy, to work with the future generation, to work with students. It's great amount of joy. So that is what Viscraft Mime is about.
So do you offer certificates, diplomas, degrees in event management?
Yes. So we tie up with very well-known universities, and these universities have so we have a BBA in events, we have BA in event management, we basically have BBA, BMS, BA, MBAs, and our entire focus is to ensure that it is relevant information and structured education, especially in the event field. So it's a variety of various institutes spread across India.
Oh, wow. Okay. And if that wasn't enough, you then went ahead and did something called ICE Global. What was the thought behind that?
Yes. So ICE Global we set up. Let me just cut back to the human story. Okay. So I met my then partner, now husband, 23 years ago. And when we met, we found a great amount of similarities in the vision of what we wanted to do, especially in the field of events, especially in the field of experiences. We were inclined towards building corporate identity. We were inclined towards telling brand stories, corporate stories, using sensory medium called experiences. And since there was this meeting place that we set up ICE Global 22 years ago. And, it has been wonderful, I must tell you, Tagore, because we worked with a variety of conglomerates. We worked with them on creating senior management, leadership initiatives. We've got various aspects where we do conferences, of course, MICE, which is meetings, incentives, conferences, exhibitions.
Yeah.
The kind of work that we've really been focusing on is experiences as a medium of communication. So that is where the distinction is for us. So over the years, we've worked with I don't want to throw names, but I'm very proud of them. So the idea is to bring them in with the Mahindra Group. They were one of our first clients, and they remain our clients for 23 years. And so with a variety of groups, whether it is DHL, whether it is Atlas Copco, various sectors that we have worked with. And it has got us great amount of, if I can tell you the one thing we've got in ICE Global as a team, to promote our team and my team and I, is, to work with a brand or a company and grow with them. And that is something that I could feel that the entire passion at ICE Global remains. It's not only creating experiences and communication initiatives, it's about exploring experiential media to drive home brands and also grow with the organization. Our organization has grown along with our clients. So I must say, it's a great amount of blessings that we've received as a team. So that's about ICE.
All right. So now I'm going to try and do a nice little bridge and bring the conversation to what I really want to know about you. But before I do that, there's one more thing I want to talk to you about in your professional career, which then, to me, connects very much to what I have experienced with you. Weare. All right?
Yes.
Weare, you started, you're part of this Weare organization. And secondly, my second question is, is when I asked you the other day, what's it like being a woman in the media industry? And you gave me an answer that I've never heard anyone else say before. So I'm going to ask you, talk to me about Weare and talk to me about what's it like being a woman in the media industry.
Okay, thank you for that. So I must share with you, I've been part of the event and experiential industry for over 3 decades now. I know I don't look that old. I am not that old, at least mentally. Chronologically, yes, I'm a little older than I would have liked to be. But being part of the event and experiential industry, there is a lot of well-known agencies came together to create an event management association of India, which is called EMA. The idea of EMA was that the apex body, it's literally an apex body of the best in the industry. And the idea is to ensure that there is a great amount of learning that is passed on within the industry. There are processes that are met. There is growth that happens within the industry. There is collaboration that happens within the industry. And that's what EMA was set up for. So EMA is I think it's about 16 years old as an association. And Weare was founded by EMA, which is an EMA initiative to drive inclusivity and equality within the industry. Yeah. So it is for inclusivity, generating a safe workplace, for equality, and also to drive diversity. Now, there is a reason why Weare has been initiative. It is no longer a gender conversation anymore, Tagore, I must tell you. It's not girl versus boy or man versus woman. It is about inclusivity, and inclusivity transcends gender. It is inclusivity in ability, inclusivity in mindset, inclusivity as well as in all the various genders we have. And that being said, I took over, before me was another lady who was Poonam Lal, who was the chairperson, and I took over about a year ago. And it has been wonderful because we've really had great amount of support from the industry. Because let me tell you, the experience industry in India has always been inclusive, whether we've liked it or not. We've had LGBTQ very, very strongly entrenched in the industry, in the creative form. Yet, there has been a lot of stereotypes that we create. If it's LGBTQIA+, they need to be creative. No, there are many data analysts that I know who are LGBTQIA+.
Yeah.
Right? So it is also about breaking the stereotypes. So it has been one of my, I would say the initiatives that are very close to my heart, especially because there's another hat I wear, Tagore, as ICE Global. And that is an initiative that I founded about 15 years ago. And I am also a leadership coach. I coach CEOs and CXOs in conscious communication, in servant leadership, as well as in empathy in communication. So Weare, the entire crux of Weare, which is inclusivity, really ties in with my sense of values and my sense of belonging and what I want to do with my life. And that's when I was at first cajoled, and then I was excited about being a part of Weare and driving it at the helm as a chairperson. So that is something that I am very proud of. And now coming to the question of how is it to be a woman in events, I'm actually looking away from the screen because I'm going to laugh away the glory. So I'll tell you very honestly, I really started at a time, if we're really going to have this gender conversation, there were very few women in the event and experiential agencies. I was one of the first few women in the organized sector of events in this country. Was surrounded by men. But one of the key things I must tell you is I never viewed myself as a woman. I always viewed and related to myself as a professional and an excellent professional. Now, when you stop, you don't view yourself as a woman. You view yourself, your entire point of view and your mindset about yourself is that I am an equal professional and I've got the same amount to contribute and the same amount of drive and the same amount of energy. You are not really treated as inferior, someone different, or someone who needs very special care. While that is being said, I also want to say that I wear two hats. There are two parts of me. There's a compassionate me, and there's a person who also will not take mediocrity easily. I don't accept mediocrity easily. So when times like those used to come up, it was very, very clear that I would put my foot down. If there was a lack of respect, I would put my foot down. So it became a joke in the event industry because I started being called Sushma Bhai. So and that's my pet name. I'm not joking.
Yeah, which basically to my viewers means Sushma gangster, really, basically. I was going to ask you about
that. Total gangster. So, and that didn't stem from any fear, let me tell you. It stems from great amount of love and great amount of respect that I have got from my industry colleagues. And it has been a wonderful journey. I must tell you, I sound like I'm at the end of it. I'm not. I'm nowhere near the end of my journey. I am still very much somewhere. I've got many more years to go. But that is something that has really been, I would say, an ode to all women. If you can also be somebody who is viewed compassionately, because the entire empathy. So I also have another nickname, and that's Ma Sushma. So can you imagine? All the myths are dispelled with, right? You have Ma Sushma and you have Sushma Bhai, both coexisting, and that's truly what I feel a woman is.
So basically it's a gangster and mother both in one person, which is great. Now I want to come back to the main topic of our discussion. You talked about the key words that I love hearing: empathy and care and everything. I've noticed, especially in the industry that we're talking about here, okay, there's often a lot of abuse. There's often a lot of and sorry to say this, but older gray men who take abuse, and they lack leadership, and they just use egos and powers. What is wrong with leadership in the world today? Is it lacking just humanity, or is it lacking something else which we are not realizing?
I really think I don't know whether it is. I don't think only men. Let me also.
Yeah, it's just not men, but
there are many. I've seen many women bringing women down as well. I think there is a great amount of, there are 2-3 reasons that I think, but the biggest one I think is there is a huge lack, there's a huge need for power. And power has been viewed in a very skewed manner. I think this power, need for power or power hungriness stems from a very deep sense of lack, which we attempt to cover with the veneer of, I am greater than most, and I will keep getting it. There's this deep sense of insecurity, I think. And that deep sense of insecurity is covered with massive over-projection. So I think it's that. I also think that there is also a lack of consciousness, as in conscious behavior. As if I'm going to behave this particular way, it will be received by somebody in that particular way. I think that consciousness does not exist. We do not behave consciously as leaders. And I say we, I don't like to say they, because we are all included in this. Yeah. We are all included. Even those of us who take that type of behavior and accept it are also included in ensuring and where we are fanning the flames, so to speak. I also feel one of the biggest reasons is a dog-eat-dog world. The way we view success today is how much we've done and how much we've accomplished. It's not how big a life we live. It's how much we've accomplished and how much we've accumulated. And we're attempting to prove to ourselves that we can do it. So I think it also contributes to this lack of living consciously, especially in leadership. And the fourth reason I feel is, we've always been told lead from the front and, all that. And there is this amazing a book that I usually read, which is called The Tao Te Ching, which is written by Lao Tzu. And in that is very clear that there's one amazing verse, and I'm not going ad verbatim, but the verse really clearly says a leader does his work and makes it seem like he's not there at all. And that's what true leadership is. I think the essence of leadership is not really understood by our current leaders, especially in the corporate arena. Did not understood it. So either you have leaders who are extremely in your face, pushing, unaware of what the team really needs, and or you have leaders who are absolutely do not care. They're aware, but they do not care. Complete lack of empathy or consideration. And there are some leaders who are only driven with personal motivation to accomplish something for themselves or for their own skewed objectives. Now, if any of these three areas happen, I think leadership gets completely falls off the board. And then it is something that we call authoritarian or dictatorship.
Yeah. How important is empathy and the understanding of humanity to becoming a leader?
If I say it is important, I would be really underplaying it. I think empathy is the only consideration that one needs to have, or the only boon or blessing. I would also call it a blessing. I call it a blessing. To have empathy is a blessing. That's one of the most important blessings that one should have. One of the most important aspects that one needs to cultivate to really create leadership qualities in ourselves. And I'll tell you why. Because I've realized one thing, that the amount we can achieve and the amount of productivity we can achieve and the way we can meet our vision as enterprise drivers is only through empathy and through love. When we love and love and nourish and appreciate, is when that is one of the most attractive components to enable the people to work with you, get excited to work, because then they become a part of your enterprise. They're not working for your enterprise. Yeah. They're a part of your enterprise. And your vision becomes their vision, right? And that is only accomplished through empathy and through love and through compassion. I don't think there's any other way it can be accomplished, Tagore. When people love you, they'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
You know? And you're not doing it manipulatively. It has to be really your core nature.
Exactly.
That's why I say it's a blessing. I don't think you can, yes, you can cultivate empathy up to a point. I think that's where if I want my son to be a future leader, I have to ensure that he grows up as an empathetic human being.
Yeah.
And that's when I know that he'll be a true, respected and accomplished leader. So I think that piece of respected leader, I think we have to, or as a society, we have to revisit that. What is really true respect? I mean, this is my complete personal point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think I've told you in our previous calls, absolutely love you for that, because you said it so well, and it's exactly what my belief is about leadership. I think managers will dictate you to go and get the results, while leaderships will empower you and the passion in you to go and get the results. I think it's very important. Right. And I think that's lacking a lot in the world and in the corporate world and whatever it may be. But now I'm coming to my next point, Sushma, which was not part of my original thoughts of interviewing you on, but I know that you're a very spiritual person. Yeah. Right. And it's amazing how you are, because when you tell me that, I'm trying to going, how does she do this? Okay. But tell me, what is the importance, not of religion, but of spirituality to becoming a good leader?
So I don't really look at life as being spiritual. I think we're all born spiritual. That's number one. Okay. I think being my relationship with spirituality it's as simple as it gets, and that is to aspire to be a good human being every single day, and today a little bit better than yesterday. So think, if you aspire to be a good human being, that itself is spirituality. Then you're spiritual. It's not about sitting and learning about different religions. It's not about sitting and meditating. It's not about doing a jap mala. It's not about praying the rosary. Like you said, it's nothing to do with religion. It's about how much do I respect myself? How much do I respect others? And how much do I respect Mother Earth? and my environment
Mm.
around me. Yeah. So these are the four aspects that I really feel that if we aspire to meet all these four aspects, I think we are all very spiritual people. Yeah. And I think spirituality, the way I don't know if I should use this word, but the context of spirituality today is very different from what I really view it as. It's not to say that I don't meditate. It's not to say, of course, I do it all. But my meditation may not necessarily come in the form of closed eye meditation. When I'm really deep in conversation, like for example, right now with you, I'm in meditation. It's about how I view uh, every moment of my life and how I immerse myself in every moment of my life. And that's when, if we start really practicing that, immersing ourselves in every moment of our lives consciously, we automatically become the good leaders. Because if we talk leadership language, because I'm a leadership coach, right? So if I speak in leadership language, productivity is high, my time spent is less, I have more connection with another person's emotion. I look into the other person's eyes. I can feel what they feel. I grasp their micro expressions. I understand them. I can respond. I can automatically begin to respond rather than react. And there are so many things that I can start doing as a leader, or rather, that becomes not doing as a leader. That again is a wrong conversation to have. There's so many things that I become as a leader that become a part of me that really starts influencing and enabling another person's life. And I think that is where spirituality really steps into a leadership role, is how much in the present we are. I know I'm sounding like a Facebook ad, you know.
No, it's not.
And there's so many times that we lose ourselves, you know. There's so many times we lose ourselves. The idea is to catch ourselves and come back to them. There's so many times we can see our thoughts going away. And the question is, how do I catch that thought and say, you know what? Okay, fine. Let me come back to the moment. It is about, so number one, I really believe that a true leader is a brilliant human being.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Only a great human being can be a great leader. I really believe that.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely. That's why I said I just love talking to you, because you say all the things that are playing in my mind, you know, and I hear you saying it. It's amazing. So another thing that's going wrong in the world, Sushma, is people are not being able to find a balance between family life and work life. I see a lot of my colleagues, I see a lot of my friends who are like, oh, I have to travel, I have to go here, I have to go there, I have a meeting, sorry. And you know what? They don't even make time to have dinner with their family, for whose reason they're working to earn the money. They don't even make time for that family moment. It's like, oh no, I've got to do some emails, so I've said yes to a global call at this time. They're getting lost in a dark forest which they're not aware of. So how would you balance your family life and your work life, and what advice would you give to it?
So, I think the critical part of this, Tagore, is number one, be always aware, and we're always evolving, right? I would not give you the same answer last year. Yeah. Nor would I give you the same answer. I may not give you the same answer next year. The reason is we're constantly evolving. And because we're always evolving, our needs change, our desires change, our ambitions change. So the critical part is making a list of, number one, who is important to you. Yeah. Beginning with yourself. At least that's how I do it. Let me share with you. Why am I giving yarn? Let me tell you how I do it. So the thing is, I make a list, right? First of all, me. Who is important to me? Me, of course. Yeah. Then, of course, my husband, my son, and the entire list that I told you, my mother-in-law, my family, the people around me, my mates. I mean, when you write the list of who all are important to you, you'll be shocked at the results. For me, my security man in my building is also very important. So when you actually write it with a lot of heart and be very clear and be very honest to yourself, who's really important to me? Who is that somebody that I really want to bring a smile to their face. Who's that person that I would like to make smile? That list is what you write down. And then, what do I do to make them feel important is the second list. Or do I do anything at all? Do I do anything? And that's when there is a great amount of clarity on, am I living a fulfilled life? The problem is that, and I always, I have launched something and I'm going to launch it very soon. I'm not not brought it out into the public as yet, and I intend to. It's called the Personal Success Blueprint. The idea of Personal Success Blueprint is we are always viewing success very myopically. And our career and the amount of stuff we have accumulated and the amount of cars we have, the amount of homes we have are our barometer for success. Well, actually, there are other areas that need to also be included in your barometer of success. So those are those 5 different areas in your life. So how much are you doing in each of these areas? And if you do enough in each of these areas of your life, you are automatically successful. Why? Because everyone's running after success. They're not running after fulfillment. And they're 2 different energies.
Yeah.
So if they were looking for fulfillment, and that is something that is an internal need, there's nothing that I can say or you could say that will enable them to look or seek fulfillment, right? Because everyone is on this treadmill for success. But what happens at some point, that treadmill for success will break because you've been overwearing and you've been running too hard and you've been running or your knees will buckle, or one of the 3 things will happen, or your back will give way. So for you to ensure that you are always on the path to fulfillment is when you get your personal success.
Okay.
Right? So that is what I really feel, that we should be always in a state of inquiry with ourselves. What is important for me today? I have to share this little personal insight with you. Yesterday was my husband, who is the love of my life and my best friend. It was his birthday. And we went out for the coffee, my husband, my son and I. And I actually came up and told them, now I've come to a point, right? I do so much, right, Tagore? So there's so much I do. I'm National Skills Development Council of India. I'm part of MESC, that's Media and Entertainment Skill Council. I'm part of Weare. I run a very successful coaching company. I run a L&D company. I run an event agency. I run an education company. And then I was sitting over there and I was like, I don't know what to do. Because everything is set, everything is running. And I realized there's one thing I've not done in this past year is challenge myself with something new, because that's my personality.
Yeah.
I like something new because new gets me to grow as a person, as a leader, as a professional. It's a new domain. So there's this freshness, right? So you set up your company, set up your team, and then you're so busy growing it that you stop growing yourself. And I was sitting and I was experiencing, and I made a mental note and said, I have to sit and get back into inquiry with myself. Now, what's my next step for this next year? And that's what we stopped doing. I don't know if you felt this, but that's something we stopped doing. That we get so complacent and we feel, okay, this is the path I've chosen to just stay on this path, forget eating with my family. So I really feel there is no work-life balance. There is no question of balance. When you've got your priorities straight, then you will make time for everything.
Wow.
If you have your priorities. If you don't know your priorities, is when you will go all awry and you will do, and then when you're just ready to take your last breath, you will be like, oh my God, what did I do? Did I do enough? And that's when you will be disappointed. And I'm sorry I'm sounding horrible about death, but it's part of life.
It's true. Sushma, I just last week podcasted. You won't believe this. I was going to work in the morning, sitting in a taxi, and the taxi driver, as most other taxis, are just yak. And I was talking to the guy. He was an engineer. He was an educator, and now because he doesn't want to be bored, he drives a taxi. So I said, it just came. I said, do you want a podcast? and he was very reluctant and shy. And I finally convinced him to podcast with me. And one thing he talked about was he now reflects on all the things that he did not do for himself and his family when he was chasing those dreams while he was working for somebody else. And
Wow.
it just gave me a sense of like, wow, I'm guilty of doing the same as well. But I've now that I'm aware of it, I've got to make amends. One thing else I want
Correct.
to talk to you about is my wife, and I hate I'm saying this in public, has taught me the art of gratitude. With
Yeah.
something which I've never had before. I just take it
Thanks.
for granted. How important is gratitude to a human being in their journey of life, in your opinion?
This is needless to say, gratitude is a very important part of
Okay.
living. Yeah. But I have a very, I'm actually doing this because I'm thinking, because I really want to give you my innermost thoughts on gratitude.
Sure.
A lot of things I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of friends, they journal, they write gratitude journals. I'm thankful for this and thankful for that. And I see a lot of people really, and God bless them, I think it's wonderful to have this conversation of gratitude out there in the world. But gratitude, according to me, is a feeling.
Hmm.
We can write as many journals as we possibly can and thank God and thank the divine and thank Falana and thank Dimkana for everything. Unless it is met with the feeling, it has no energy. Yeah. So, and I'll explain to you where my conversation with gratitude really began. I'll tell you where my experience with gratitude really began. I was very young, and I had a working mother, and God bless her soul, she's been much of my driving inspiration of my life. And I used to go to my different neighbor's house to eat. And when there was this Priscilla asked aunties to make one particular kind of chicken. And Mudrika auntie, that's another auntie, used to make one particular kind of bindi. And another auntie used to, again, Priscilla auntie used to sit and teach me, we used to have this little book called Pop Hits, and she used to teach me all these English songs. And Ramesh uncle used to ensure that I didn't have a brother, so every Raksha Bandhan I used to go and tie Rakhi to Ramesh uncle. And he used to give me 2 rupees. And every time I went to their house, there was this feeling that I used to get in. And that feeling was one of pure relish, number one, eating what they made for me. And number two, pure thankful that they are on this planet there for me. Right? That feeling is what gratitude really is. So we can say practice. I don't believe that you've got to practice that. Gratitude is a state. There's a big difference in it. It's a state. It's about a state of being grateful for every breath we take. I hope I'm not sounding too airy-fairy. I'm just explaining
absolutely. You're absolutely right about gratitude being an inner feeling and being aware of
a state.
It's
and
a state.
Being in the state and being in a state of constant gratitude is a state of constant enlightenment.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
My wife is grateful for everything. She'll drink a glass of water and she'll say, "Oh, I'm so grateful. This water is great." Yeah. I mean, I'm like, "It's water. What are you going on about?" But I now understand the state of gratitude, and I actually feel that it's empowered me to appreciate the world a lot better than I always did.
Yeah.
My friends know me as a sarcastic, corky twat, and that's like my Tagore brand. Okay.
Right.
Even in that, I think that gratitude has a huge place to play.
Like you said, she's drinking water and she said, "Wow, this is so great." Now that's not a practice, it's a state. You're
Mm.
getting it. To be always in this joyful state of appreciation, of love, and of gratitude. Again, it's a blessing. And it is something that, when I'm not dissing anyone, of course, please keep those gratitude journals. I'm not saying no. If you don't know and you don't experience it, you have to start somewhere. But I think more than the practice, one has to endeavor to be always in the state. Because more than the practice, it is the state that will enable you to connect with everyone. Because when, you've been blessed with a wonderful wife, and you keep using these words like bless, because it also keeps us very humble, because otherwise we start thinking that we are doing it all. We are not.
Yeah.
We're just stepping into it all, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sushma, coming towards the end of this wonderful chat, I wish I didn't have to end this, but what advice would you give to young people stepping into the professional world, to a bunch of people who have been in the professional world for a little while, like sort of the middle-aged groups, and to the groups that are at the far end of the professional world? What advice would you give to them? And you can take as long as you want, break it down, in order just to retain the humanity, retain good, clean leadership in the world.
We're going to begin with it from the top.
Yeah.
Because I think it always stems from the top. And I would really request those who are at the helm to, number one, get to know your team. Every single person in your team. Make those connections, because I really I've begun to see, and I work a lot in the corporate world, and especially as a leadership coach, right? I see that there's no connection. It is more about, this is Tagore, and Tagore is known for the work he does.
Yeah.
But who's Tagore? What makes Tagore tick? What does Tagore like? What gets him excited? That concept is completely lost on leadership. I think the more you get to know and the more you get to connect with the people that work with you and not for you, is the more effective a leader that one can become. That's just one advice. And that connection is what will drive empathy. It's that connection that is what will drive your consideration, that will get your company from point A to point Z. For mid management, I think it's very, very important for the mid management to understand that they're not redundant. Don't view yourselves as, this is, I've hit the ceiling. And I get this a lot. Everyone feels like, ceiling ho gaya hai, abhi mera aur kuch nahi hone wala hai. In Hindi, that would be, I've hit my ceiling, now I've hit my glass ceiling, I can't do anything. Absolutely not. Look at how you can energize yourself. Surround yourselves with young. Surround yourselves with younger friends. Get to know again, it has to continue. You get to know and connect with the team that works with you, who are a little bit lower on that corporate ladder. Have those out of office conversations. Go and grab much more than a coffee. Don't wait only for offsites to connect. And also learn to always keep learning. I think, we give up on ourselves after a point. The more we learn, the more we will grow. So keep learning and keep reinventing. And like I said, always sit with yourself and say, okay, I want to invent myself. I want to reinvent myself, and be true to yourself. If you feel you've reached the end of your capability, then make sure you surround yourself with people who can drive you, who can inspire you. And I also want to give, this is going to be a longer one, because they're the ones who struggle a lot, the mid-management, right? And also I would say, everything is at our fingertips. Knowledge is at our fingertips. So do one new thing every month, whether it is trekking or whether it's reading a new book. Just infuse your life with newness. And that's when you will stop feeling that if you are feeling stuck. Yeah. And for the new ones who are joining, I think you have a lot to contribute. They have so much to contribute to the world.
Absolutely.
The speed at which they, the amount of, they can actually put things together so fast, much faster than any of us can do. I would only request that do not uh, shy away from hard work. I think what hard work, they say you don't need to work hard. I'm not, and work smart. I'm not talking about that type of hard work. I'm talking about discipline. The discipline brings routine, and with routine builds character. And I think that is something I would really request our young ones. They are very clear. There's a lot of clarity. At least I notice in 80% of the young ones, there's a lot of clarity. Yet there is a little bit, because we all were young at one point. So I'm going back and giving myself advice when I was at the bottom of the ladder. I wish I was a little bit more disciplined at that point of time. I would have achieved so much more, right? So been there, done that. So please drive a little bit of routine and discipline into your life. And I think also, stop living life in slogans. Why should I work for others when I can do work for myself? I think everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. I too wanted. I was an entrepreneur at 12, for God's sake. I was an entrepreneur by the time I hit 23. Before I got into this job, I was also an entrepreneur. I was a dollar millionaire by that time. But I still worked for somebody. And working for somebody provides you one very important thing, Tagore, and that, according to me, is you get an opportunity to be mentored. And being mentored in your career is like you've plundered a gold mine because it sets you up on life. So I think it sets you up for life. So I think it's very, very important that you get a mentor. Look at a mentor, that's someone you can aspire to. And the mentor should be somebody who also lives a holistic, fulfilled life rather than a one-dimensional successful life. It has to be success in all 5 areas of your life. So it has to be relationships, health, and career, very important, personal development, and spirituality. If they've got success in all these 5 areas and they're fulfilled in all these 5 areas, they are an ideal mentor for you. So this is my little elongated, very humble advice to all the 3 areas.
So Sushma, my last question, and I promise you this. What's next for Sushma?
Oh, I've got to write it down. Remember I said yesterday I'm going to write it down. I'm really keen on writing a book, Tagore.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm very keen. I have written a book, let me tell you. I've not got it published yet because the last 4 chapters of the book are untruths. So I'm going to redo those last 4 chapters. They are untruths. And I think, your subconscious mind stops you from publishing because it knows that they are untruths. So I could not complete that book. When I say untruths, I think I looked at it in a very, not untruth in that sense of not being deceitful, but I think I was not looking at those particular circumstances in my life in a holistic fashion. I was just very jaded in my viewpoint. So I need to revisit that and write it with a more open viewpoint. Yeah, so that's what I meant by untruth. And I want to write another book, which I've got a perspective on about my escapades in spirituality. So,
wow.
Whichever one comes first. But in the time being, I have written. I've been writing quite a bit. So I've written a wonderful chapter where I really spilled my innermost thoughts out for a book called My Experiences with Maitreya Dadashiji. So in that is really an essence of who I am spiritually, and that's what I wanted to build on for my upcoming book. So God willing, that is what I'm toggling with right now. I shall let you know. I'm going to spend time with myself and write down what I want to do next. But otherwise, I still have so much on my hand. Like I'm like this. I'm carrying things like this. My husband's like, Auntie, yesterday he asked me, he said, aren't you doing too much?
And as I said, Sushma, I can never stop asking. I'm going to ask you one last, and I promise it's the last.
Okay, this is the last. When Joshua, my son, was small, he says, "Mama, one last." Then he would say, "One last." Okay, I'm used to it.
So, being in the event industry for nearly 3 decades, and holding some of the biggest events in India, what was the highest moment you got in that industry? One particular event, it could have been the first IFA, or I don't know, anything.
Oh my God, this is a really crazy question. Oh my God, there are so many, Tagore. It's very difficult. See, you know what happens is when you keep building it, right? But I'll tell you the most exciting event for me, because I can't tell you scale. I worked right from IFAs, and when I was in this job, Michael Jackson, then at ICE Global, we worked on Cine Awards, we worked in my own company, I worked with leadership. But I'll tell you this one moment I shall never forget. Okay? I'll tell you two. May I tell you two? Two?
Yeah, of course you
two
can.
allowed?
Yes.
Okay. So the first one is when we did the launch of the Rolls-Royce. We did all the Rolls-Royce launches in India, and we did the launch of Rolls-Royce Phantom. Yeah, extended wheelbase in India. And we use video mapping. So Pramod, my husband, who's at the helm of ICE Global, he designed the entire part. And ICE Global video map the first Rolls-Royce car in the country. Yeah, the first video mapping of Rolls-Royce. I think this was some million years ago. And just to see that happening. And it was extremely exciting. Number one, of course, it is a Rolls-Royce brand. But number two, we went to do something extremely innovative at that point. That was for me the most pleasurable. Was it the most intensive big event? No, it was just these little moments.
Yeah.
Remember your big memories, right? And the second was a very memorable moment for me personally. So we were doing, again, Pramod, my husband and I, we were doing the launch of a movie. I shall not name the movie. It's old, it was with Amitabh Bachchan. And we were doing it in a lobby, of a large lobby, and it was this whole, they set up a whole set, and Amitabh Bachchan was to do Falana, do various entries. I'm not going into all that, but I'll tell you, it was not the scale of the event. It was my sister-in-law. I called her for the event. I said, "You come." So because we are 70s kids, we've been brought up on Amitabh Bachchan. And I am not starstruck at all. I will work with everyone. Over the past years, you tend not to get starstruck, right? So you're not starstruck. So we will call my sister-in-law. She was there. So I said, "You come, Smita. We'll stand down and we'll just look at the rehearsal." So we both were looking at the rehearsal. And then on stage, I saw Pramod directing, something, and Amitabh was on stage, and he was telling, and he said, and he turned around and told Pramod, and he's an amazing professional worker. You get to learn so much with that man. You can't learn enough. I don't know him personally. Pramod does, right? So on stage, when Amitabh said to Pramod that, "Okay, you call the shots. It's your shot. It's your call." He just said that, and that's when it struck me that I've married someone who is so phenomenally creative and so phenomenally accomplished. And you know what? He happens to be up there on stage with the man I had a crush on all my life. That happened to be Amitabh Bachchan. I think these two are it's nothing to do. I can tell you, I've been backstage manager with Falana. Those things didn't matter. It's these, like I said, it's about the connection. It's about the human feeling. And these two stand out are my top two when it comes to the most memorable moments I've had ever. And both have got to do with my husband for some reason. Nothing to do with me. Both with my husband.
It's been absolutely lovely talk. I can talk to you for hours, and you know that I love talking to you because there's so many things that you say which I said are in my head. But thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope that my audience get to learn something from all your wonderful thoughts and comments that you've made. Thank you so much for talking to me, and I've absolutely loved it.
Thank you. And Tagore, I want to say a big thank you. I think, it's wonderful that you're doing this. And I wish you all the very best. A big thank you for Vandana for introducing us, because we would have never met if it wasn't for her. And I just want to say one last line before I go.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, honestly, each of us, if we endeavor to be wonderful human beings, drive empathy, compassion, and consideration in our lives, the world will become a better place. We'll make it much better for our future generations, and that's where our responsibility lies. It doesn't lie about making the world a better place for us. It's about our children. So it is very important that we learn to become better human beings, so at least aspire to be better human beings. If not for ourselves, at least for our children. So I really wanted to say this towards the end.
Thank you.